Right.
Welcome to episode 3 of season 2 of On the Knuckle. We are in Steamboat, Colorado, ready for the next event. Beggsy has kindly decided to rejoin us on the tour after a little trip at home. And Beggsy, how disappointed were you to miss out on what was one of the most insane finals in Beijing?
Yeah, that was a big one. No, I didn't miss it. I got to watch it still. I missed out on judging it. I missed out on the stress and the pressure of the box, but I got to go home and see my family and hang out with the kids for a few days and my wife and build a trampoline. And now I'm back.
You missed out on 120 beats per minute heart rate that mine was at for all the finals. But
I cut 260 odd jumps, but I got them all through Chinese streaming and watched the finals. So it was a good show.
It was an insane show. And that's what we figured we're going to talk about today. So before we get on to Big Air 3 this week, we're going to have to look back at Beijing from last week. Cool. So I guess before we go into all the stuff about Beijing, the Olympics are obviously drawing ever closer. How's your excitement levels?
Sitting at about a 7 at the moment. So it's not super high. I mean, we're last big air of the season, so I'm excited about that, but there's a little apprehension. There's not a lot seems to be happening over in Milan, and yeah, we'll see. We've just got to get through the season first. I'm more focusing on what we've got before the big show. So hence the excitement being down. Just got to get through the pressure first.
I reckon that's just that week at home. Just nice little lull. I'm at a solid 10. Or maybe a 9.95 sort of thing.
Nice.
Just, I think last week's event in Beijing just really raised the bar. It got me nervous, got me excited, got me stoked for snowboarding. It was a good result all around, I think. And and obviously the other event we had last week was Snow League up in Secret Garden for Snow League event number 2. I have not had a single chance to watch any of it. Just it was too hectic a schedule at our end in Beijing. But we'll get around to that one when we get a break in the season, really.
Yeah, it's tough when there's consecutive events running. It's trying to be everywhere at once. I did see there was a lot of good stuff went down at that one, and some new things, linked combos, and some exciting new riders coming up. So I think it was good to see that. But like I said, it is hard to watch and be fully invested in that while there's another big air going on.
Yeah, the clips made it look insane from social media.
So. And saying that's the problem we're going to have this week, where we're here in Steamboat at a big air, and there's another half pipe going on at Secret Garden. So trying to split our attention.
Yeah, so that's gonna be interesting this week to try and catch up on those. We've heard some sneaky tidbits coming out of training in Secret Garden, which we might, tease later on in the week. But I guess let's keep our focus on Beijing Big Air. As we've mentioned before on the pod, Beijing Big Air, I think it's the best judging venue for sure. It's purpose-built ramp. It's in the very cool old industrial area in Shugang in Beijing. The judges stand, you just get to look straight at the jump, no worried about TV or any angles, etc. Get to watch everything live, and it's good fun.
Yeah, it's purpose-built, that one. I think for trajectory, it's definitely our best view of any stops on the tour. You can see them in the window, whether they're flat or whether they've got the arc, and I think that makes a massive difference.
100%, yeah. And it always seems to deliver. I think that's the same as Big Air Finals last year with Ian Mattioli doing the 21. It's like there's always something about that event that just...
Night finals and good jump.
Night finals, good crowd.
It's a good one.
Sick. So the venue itself, training-wise, start of the week, started off a little bit sketchy with some kind of higher winds, very icy drop-ins, and we were chilling in the judges' stand watching training. We're like, oh, this is very mellow. This hasn't gone off anywhere near it did at Secret Garden. Went to stand on the roof, and then you could just hear the ice on the drop and on the landing. So it was understandable why. Took a day 2 of training, much better. We started to see some stuff, but
yeah, harder than concrete was the definition that I got when I reached out to a few people over there to get some feedback.
Yeah, I think concrete would have been softer, to be honest. Yeah. And but fair play to the riders. They kept pushing through. But let's get straight into women's qualies.
Cool. What have you got for us from there? That was an interesting one with streams. I got to stream it, but it was difficult. Well, I think Robbie put about 5 or 6 different WhatsApp links in there, and then battling with Chinese Chinese internet. We managed to watch it.
Yeah.
So it was good.
And the interesting thing for the qualies this time, we went back to the 2 out of 3 format. So way more intense for judging because we judged 262 runs, I think it was, instead of 180 across the whole day. So it was jam-packed start to finish, but I think it makes it a better result for the riders at the end of the day rather than the best run counts just having to spread those points all the way through. So we worked back on our same trick, similar score. Conditions seemed good. They were first thing in the morning, so they had a pristine jump, and it had been broken in over 2 days. So the standard was once again pretty high, which we're probably going to say all season because it seems to get better and better with every event. So
better every time. I think that one's good in that format is what they use for finals. So it's like you say, it's way better for the riders. I think it's better for us ultimately because at least it's consistent. You have to have 2 jumps to get in. It's not just a hit and hope and trying to make such an aggressive cut. So I prefer it. I'm glad at least one big air this season we get to go best 2 of 3 for qualies.
Yeah, that's a good point because this week we're on best of again.
Yeah.
So, but obviously just restrictions of the venue. Beijing had the advantage of having floodlights. The other 2 pure daylight, and that's where the difficulty kind of comes in. But yeah, so notable standouts. Once again, we mentioned her in the Secret Garden episode, and I think this just kind of goes to show how good she is in her rookie season. But Sky Vans from Belgium, again, super solid front end tail. That thing looked better than it did in Secret Garden. And I think the downside, she crashed on the back 9 on her second run, had to then drop the other trick to a back 7 just to try and get one on the board. So just missed out on finals. And the 7, just lacked a bit of amplitude, bit of a grab. So that was Sky's. But I think we're in a matter of time before we see her in finals.
Definitely. I think we spoke about that one after Secret Garden, and it was Justin needed a little bit more in the grab, and she would have made finals. And then that one she grabbed for longer, and it was a good one. I think you're right. I think it's only a matter of time there. Another good standout was Lily Duanaway with lovely back tens. Like every time it's the axis it puts her on. When she grabs style, she was doing a couple 7s up there today, grabbing style, and it's just, they're beautiful to watch. It's really nice. She had good amplitude. Only had the front 7 for a second trick. So that's sort of, I guess, where she sort of dropped off. Didn't have the back-to-back tricks.
Because that bubble spot was kind of 9-9 versus 10 and a 7 sort of thing. So it kind of came out of execution amplitude. And just got beaten by Ariana Burry, who did 9-9. But then Remy van Vreden from the Netherlands, just a little bit down from the bubble, but I would say arguably one of the best amplitudes we saw from all the riders. Like huge front 10, super good trajectory. And again, as we said, that judge's stand is perfect for that. We could actually see the pop as much as it was. It was just a bit of a short grab. Tried to back it up with a switchback 9, but it was the grabs on both were just not as long held as they could have been. And then finally, Yoda Mraz, it was not the last one, but our final notable mention before we move into finals. Front 10 and a back 7. Great execution on the poke and the back 7. Just had an instability, and she was the first one out of the gate. First rider, first run, and went front 10 straight away, and just a little under-rotated, a little double hand touch. So that we just had to kind of pull her down for, because execution is the name of the game sometimes.
Yeah. Her back 7s do look nice, and she does have that. It's in the genes, that Marassi execution that Kokomo's got. And it was notable out there today that she's got very similar style to her sister.
Yeah, I was going to do my best to make a comment about jeans and wearing snowboard pants, but decided not to. So we had 8 women through to finals. Ariana Burry was last in with a 9-9, so she opened up finals. Finals is night finals. The skiers had theirs during the day. And it just kind of set the tone for the evening, I think. First run went down well. Ariana Burry opened up finals with, I would say, one of the best cab 9s I've ever seen. It was huge. She looked like she was going to be short on time to get the rotation in, but just kind of floated all the way into the landing, grabbed for the whole thing, absolutely stomped it. I think she said afterwards it was one of her best cab 9 she's ever done.
Yeah, it was a beautiful cab 9, and it's one of the more spoken about tricks out of the women's final, I guess.
And then just couldn't back it up. The second trick was back 9 and just a little short on the grab, improved in run 3, but it wasn't quite as good as that cab 9 was. So I think she finished first off the podium in 4th, so good result for her in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, props to Ariana Burry for that cab 9.
Yeah.
Let's see if we see that again.
My standout was Miyabi Onitsuka. They're opening up with that cab 12, talking about beautiful tricks. That's got to be one of the best cab 12 she's ever done, but it was a thing of beauty. So,
and to set that on run 1 as well, because we've often kind of seen them go 10-10 and then pull one of them up, and Miyabi coming straight out of the gate, cab 12, just again sets the tone for the whole thing. Yeah,
when I saw that, I'm like, oh, we're going to have a final tonight. Like Beijing always, we say Beijing delivers, and it does. From that moment, I was locked in.
You were locked in. I was panicking. in my head judge seat. Sadly for me, Miyabi did have a huge crash later on, like gigantic amplitude. I think she all right. She walked away from it. We saw her later on. She was still smiling. So hopefully no major lasting injuries from that one. But props for the send, because that was insanity.
Yeah, fully.
And then I guess our other one that's not on the podium, Kokomo Miraze, was riding insanely clean and training. Every single trick was just laced. And we'd heard some rumors from the camp that if she got down her first 2 tricks that she's intended to do, then a third trick would be looking around that, whether it was one of her 14s or the back 16 we saw at Stu by. So we were super hyped for that. Unfortunately, fell on the first run, went for the back triple on run 3, and then came up a little bit short. So she's not high up there on the rankings, but
totally. And takes us onto the podium. Yeah. So in third place, we had Momo Suzuki. She fell on the back 10 in run 1, and then front 10 melon in run 2. Good grab, maybe slightly short on the rotation. And then
like 10 degrees sort of thing. It wasn't like a full on rotation. It was like, if you, again, split in hairs, and we always sound mean about this, it was a tiny bit short.
And the back dog 10 drunk driver, which is a strong grab. It's a nice one for her, that one.
Yeah, she it's a little bit heavy on the heels on the landing, just kind of like rode it away. Bit of a split decision in the panel, whether it was like a instability in the landing or just kind of almost just the way she landed it. So we took it into consideration. Wasn't a heavy hammer, but was certainly there. But again, we spoke about Momo Suzuki a bunch on the recap episodes from last season. And I think that's if she'd put down the bagged up 10 in run 1, we'd have seen front 10 mil and then back 12.
Yeah.
I think was on the game plan sort of thing. In second place in the women's, we have
Hanakara with a beautiful front 10 double, which we've spoken about. We've spoken about it a number of times this season already. She's sort of had it there. We've said it was a nice one to watch, and she put it down. It was nice pop and height and deep into the landing. And she's one of the only girls that sort of actually goes front double. So there's a lot of back 10s and other sort of access, but that front doubles, it's a difficult one. It's progressive, and she gets it done. She gets it done good.
Yeah, it's one of the best front dubs in the game, I'd say. Like pure overhead, very nicely done. And yeah, solid execution, and then followed it up with backed up 10. Solid grab on that one as well. So execution on point for both tricks, deep into the landing, deeper into landing on the backed up 10. Tiny bit of a squat on the landing, but again, nothing major, but just little noting points. And it got her onto her first World Cup podium.
Yeah, well deserved. It was good.
Well deserved. Felt a long time coming. And she kind of last year felt like she was on the grasp of getting there sort of thing. So nice to get it done.
Definitely from Aspen, it's just been a trajectory where it's been coming. So we've seen it there.
She's been one of the ones that like you kind of pay attention. You see her riding and like, cool. Like you start to pick up on her more and more sort of thing. But it takes us into our winner. Second time in a row winning in Beijing. First time back this season, Mia Brooks.
Yeah, a nice back 12 melon. So she's got tricks, Mia, and she came out swinging and first jump put one down.
And again, like what we were saying with Miyabi, Mia's another one that usually does the back 9, then the 14, then gets to the back 12, or does the cab 10 first and gets up there eventually. But yeah, coming out swinging in run 1. And she didn't ride day 1 of training, just said she wasn't really feeling that well. Second run of training, started putting the cab tricks down. Backside might have spun a 7 maybe, but never started to work up into the big numbers. So that was... again, setting the tone, just kind of coming out straight away. Kind of shows Mia's mentality a little bit. We saw her in World Champs in 2023 that when she's on and she's happy to put down, she goes for it and puts it down.
Yeah, and she hasn't competed her first one back this season, and then cab 14 stale in the second jump, and she basically got the job done halfway through the comp. So.
Yeah, and then obviously she was last to drop and run 3 and just kind of chilled and waited to see what got there. And it looked like Miyabi could kind of edge her out, but then obviously crashed on the landing, sadly. So there's a clear winner on the day because she had 12s and 14 versus the 10 versus 10. So difficulty way through, but her execution was there. Her amplitude was good. It's kind of some of the best riding I've seen from Mia.
Yeah, it's good. And first comp back, making it back-to-back Beijing wings for her. So
not bad.
Yeah, not a bad way to come back.
Yeah. And just we'll see how she gets on in Milano because she's not here this week. So next big air comp for her will be, Milano.
It's crazy to think that that's the next big air comp after this one. So.
Kind of terrifying. Yeah. And then, all right, into the men's. And this is where things got a bit intense in the training because we had 2 heats of men's. So that's each riding in 3 jumps. So, 100 I can't do the math quick enough, 180 runs in the men's. Heat 1 kind of suffered a bit. It was similar to what we saw a little bit with Secret Garden, but flip-flopped. The Secret Garden Heat 2 had the issue with the landing and the light, etc. Heat 1 almost seemed to have that a little bit. They finished the training period, and then as the kind of the qualification phase started, it was actually the shadow from the judges' stand that started to get into the landing a little bit. So it was a bit more. There's a few more crashes in that one than we thought, especially in run 2, because the jump was in the sun, the run in and the run out, and the landing were both in the shade. So riders having a little bit of trouble dealing with that, which is very fair. So we actually saw a bit of a standard shift, and some riders playing it very tactically well and coming down to do 14s as a second trick rather than the 18s, realizing that a good solid 14 still got a chance of being either in finals or just outside finals. And in this points chasing year, even just being outside finals is pretty crucial.
Yeah, there's a few riders that sort of said this week that if they just put a 14 down, they could have got in. So it's one of those ones you don't know at the time, and everyone's swinging for the fences trying to get into finals, but conditions change, and those that adapted quickly, some of them got in there.
Yeah, and hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I'm sure Chema Meza-Brown will talk about him in finals when we get through to that bit. He put a 14 down, got through on that 5th place bubble spot. I'm sure if we saw a couple of 18s afterwards, he'd be out there thinking, why don't I just go 18? He's got an 18. Why didn't we go for that? But it was, I'd say, smart and intelligent riding. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll stick to qualifications. Notable mentions from qualies that didn't make it through.
Li Haiyu from China with switchback double 16 nose and the back trip 16 drunk driver. And he was just beaten out by his teammate, Zhao Jingdu, who went front dub 18 Indy and a cab 16 Indy to nose. So 2 pretty solid tricks from both of them.
Yeah,
from him.
The Chinese team looked on point yet again.
Yeah.
Because Go was in that heat as well, so I think they got 3 through into that top 5. And the cab 16 Indy to nose was legit, not a trick we see, not a grab combination. We've actually kind of seen that much with the cab 16s. It's usually been kind of get into your rotation. It's not the easiest rotation, and then him having the skill and the prowess to actually switch grabs in between was pretty cool. And
there was again with that one, there's quite a step up from the top 4 to the bubble sort of thing. So it actually dropped away a little bit after those top 4.
And then we had the front trip from Ge Hon Yu, which again seems like his standout trick. We saw him seeing the dub version of it in training today, but it looks like he's conquered that weird axis. And it's working for him.
Yeah, it's a weird trick. He sort of takes off in a frontside rodeo and then goes into a switch backflip in the middle of it. So it's
it's super blind last part of the rotation. We also had Clemens Millauer back 18 nose and switch back 16 nose, so 2 very kind of staple Clemens tricks. There wasn't anything wrong with him per se. They were good. They would just beat him by better tricks as well, which kind of sadly the name of the game had a slight hand touch on the 16.
Yeah, that was probably it. I think he was very unlucky not to be in. That was like one of those close ones watching from home. It's like, oh, he's going to go close here.
Yeah, and that's why we keep saying we should be taking 6 or 7 from each heat through.
Yeah,
we're kind of restricted by TV times on the finals, etc. But sometimes having 6 or 7 from each heat would clear that bubble up quite nicely. Next notable one, Enzo Valax. A back triple 18 Indy and switch back triple 16 mute. So 2 solid tricks, mostly good, just super heavy knee on both of them. And that has been the consensus, was knee grabs are not ideal. And on the back triple was definitely fully capped. It wasn't even squeezing. So
yeah, and that from my point of view, there's a few I think I spoke to you guys about, and it's like you didn't see the knee as much on the feed, but when it's right there in front of your eyes for those in the booth and the six set of eyes and the knee's right there, it's a lot more noticeable for the judges in that event. So
yeah,
that's
and that
probably
one,
where those are coming from, because you don't see it on the TV for some of them.
Yeah, and that wasn't even a replay check. That was a live.
Yeah,
sadly. So that was sadly obvious.
Yeah. So next one on the list was Valentino Giselli and switchback 16 double tail, and he's sort of one of the only people doing that trick, and it was the highest scoring of the 16s and definitely set him good. And then he's back up. He went back 14 Indy. I think if he'd just had a 16 on that one, he probably would have made it in. He was very close. He was around that sort of bubble spot with Clemens too. So.
Yeah, in the back 14, it looked like he weirdly drifted right to left, which is a regular rider isn't the natural way. If you're trying to cheat the rotation, you'd drift left to right sort of thing. But it just seemed like he kind of maybe got caught on the snap a little bit. Definitely wanted more and just...
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those. I feel like he wanted more. I think he might have wanted a 16 and got hung up or got caught or something like that.
Yeah, still impressive to pull 14 out of getting hung up on the lip. And yeah, there's the double tail. It's kind of one of those... we call it double tail just to kind of recognize that there was 2 hands on the tail, but it is noticeably the tail to then double tail and then back to the tail sort of thing. So recognize it there for the difficulty in terms of actually getting both hands to it, but can't fully reward it like we look at, let's say, this Lions back 18 rocket, because that's held throughout all the rotation rather than just a little bit. So that's kind of one of those little execution points to bring in. And then last one on our list, Marcus Cleveland. Nosebudder back 14. We talked about it, I think, a lot at Secret Garden, whether it was classed as a full nosebudder or not. Yeah. We looked at it then, like the execution wasn't quite there on the takeoff to be a nosebudder. This time was clear nosebudder, lots of pressure off the nose, full spin, kind of like we see from Rene, but just couldn't stop the landing, sadly. So that's one of those tricks we really wanted to have landed to be able to reward that progressive takeoff on that kind of trick, but just sadly couldn't.
Yeah, and speaking of butters, Chema really laced one in qualies with the cab butter, and then that was one of the ones that got him into finals. It kind of came from nowhere. I didn't expect it, and it was proper. It wasn't one of those ones where I think you're going to be debating, was it smeared or was it a butter? We've just spoken about a few out here today that were sort of questionable, and that one he did in Beijing was proper.
It was sick. And we've never really seen cab nose butters that much in contest recently. We look back years way in video parts, etc. There were some, but this one was like, pure. You could see the shadow and the difference between the shadow and the board, how much actual separation there was. So
full commitment.
Nicely done. So yeah. The only kind of, I guess, negative side from the judging for qualies, Rene Redkangas did the switchback double rodeo 12 with Stalefish. So completely different grab to what we see from Oyvind, Frank Jovin, Nicola De Vero. Came up short a little bit on the landing, to be honest. It looks like kind of pivot landing, just got the edge in and snap round. It wasn't slid down in a board slide or anything.
Yeah, he's a bit of a magician with that. He grabs stale, it puts him on a weird axis, and the way he lands, it's almost such a quick whip that if you're not watching closely, you miss it. Yeah. And then when you go back and pause it or frame by frame it, he's quite under-rotated on some of them. When he gets it good, but there's ones where, he was under-rotated on that one.
Yeah, and we pulled him down 10 points. We saw it enough that we did recognize that it wasn't as well executed as it could have been. So we pulled it down 10 points. We did look at it afterwards because we had some comments from it. We looked at it, even when you take another 10, 15 points off, he'd still have been up in that final slot. So bit of a mistake on the day. Worked out all right in the end, at least, and didn't affect the result massively. Obviously, there's always little effects of it, but yeah, like out of 260 tricks, we kind of missed one. So still an all right success rate.
Yeah, like you say, he took 10 off, and even if you'd taken another 10 off, it still would have had him in the finals. So I think the position's right. Maybe the score wasn't correct in that instance, but then the positions, he ended up where he needed to be. And I think there was probably even another 4 points in there that he still would have been in. So for me, I think, even 20, 24, 25 points is a lot to hit for a slight under-rotate.
Yeah, 100%. I think, he dropped from 4th to 5th, but both still would have made finals. So, which takes us into finals, which was the most intense finals I've ever judged. It started off with a bang. I think in run one we had, 7 out of the 10 tricks we saw in run one were mid-80s or higher.
Yeah, you guys started off high.
It started off high. I started off panicking. I started sweating because it was like, if everyone lands run 1, then lands run 2, and then suddenly run 3, we just start seeing chucking. And we kind of set the scale a little bit higher than we had in Secret Garden. We didn't fully expect 23s. Tiger had withdrawn earlier on from the contest. Hiroto didn't make finals, and they're kind of your 2 noticeable 23 possibilities. Obviously, there's probably many more.
Yuto, there's others, but like when you've only got 1, it's different to having 3, having to slot them in up there.
Yeah, so we were like, cool, if we see a 23, we can panic and that'll be top. But
make it work.
Yeah, so we adjusted our scale to kind of cater for that one, but just fair play to the riders because everyone started throwing down. Yeah,
totally. I guess my standout for that one, who I called you guys about, was Dane Menzies. Like a proper front triple 18 tail. It was like legitimately a triple the way he dipped, which is a risky, high consequence trick. And then the next 2 was back 18,
back 19,
and back 19, and both like landed bolts. The back 18, just as he landed, came down. It was like just a flat line. He sort of done the raining money, but yeah, both the 18 and the 19 were sweet. And I thought maybe
there
he
was a tiny line on the 19 if we were being really picky, but I think that one would have been overly harsh for.
Yeah, I thought the landings were perfect. I did hear from you guys when I messaged and said about his trick that there was some knee in there.
What are you guys doing?
there was a slight knee or a hold or something, but yeah, I think it was definitely a standout the way he rode that night, and maybe he could have gone up a place or so, but I think he was one of the standouts for me. It was a good one.
Yeah, and I think that was the best I've seen him ride for some time. Yeah, it was a bit noticeable in Aspen last year as well, to be honest, in the slope, but definitely in a big air. putting down the tricks, and as you say, full true triple 18. And then, I think we were overly harsh in hindsight with more time to kind of consider it. Downside was, and this is going to sound weird, because everyone landed tricks, we had less time to analyze them because of that kind of tight TV slot. If people start bailing or slipping out, we have to get to use the DNI button, then we get more time for the big decisions. So time pressures probably impacts that. I reckon he maybe could have moved up into fourth. I don't think we underscored him enough that he made the podium.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he probably ended up in fourth, but not on the podium. And even the way I was speaking to another rider, like an ex-competitor the other week about it, or in the last few days since the event about it, and he said the way he spins his 19s is just one perfectly fluid motion. He sort of takes off and just at one trick, as opposed to doing an 18 and just shifting it around to try and get to 19, which we do see a lot on some of those like higher rotations from sort of 16 and up.
Yeah, which
so yeah, execution wise, they're good and proper.
They are good and proper. So yeah, that was our, I guess, mistake in finals. Other one kind of noticeable: Yuta Miyamoto, back 19 melon, front triple 18, did go for the triple 19 and run 3. Because at that point, the standard had been set, and you're just like, he needed something huge to get himself up there, and the front triple 19 probably would have been it, but he just couldn't stick it. Yeah, and he's one of those that does not have a knee grab in the slightest on those ones, or didn't on Saturday night.
No, he's quite compact, but he has everything where it needs to be, and that front 19 is pretty rare. I think there's probably only one other rider that has cracks at it, and it's not a trick we see often in comps. So I think you're right. I think probably would have got the job done had he put it down.
Yeah, just tiny hand touch on the 18, very slightly under-rotated. Again, being super panicky about these landings because we can't have to. And then we mentioned him in the qualies, but Chema Mezit Brown, best World Cup finish for him in 7th. And yeah, first trick came out the cab butter 12, but held back to 10.
And blew me away, that thing. Like, we'd seen the butter, and then to add the butter and the holdback in one trick, and then the way he kind of landed, he kind of like did this and dabbed down the landing, but it kind of held him. He had just managed to land clean and ride out, as opposed to there's a lot going on when you try and hold a trick back like that, and after a butter to not be over it as much, it's impressive.
Yeah, because like we've talked about it a bunch with the riders and also on the pod sort of thing, that the progression that we're seeing is the butter takeoffs, we're seeing the multi-directional things, and I think this is the first one we've seen that actually combines both.
Yeah. Checks
the boxes, did it beautifully well with the execution. And it was interesting. We were kind of thinking he was going to go cab 14 with the nose butter again. It's almost interesting. I think the nose butter 10 holdback would have scored just as well, if not higher.
Yeah.
Just because of that progressive aspect. And it was beautiful. And amplitude for a butter was also pretty good.
Yeah, you got the pop. It's an MBD. Nobody else is doing it. And like you say, to combine a butter and a holdback in one trick is pretty unique.
Yeah. Take a bow, Chapman. That was good. And then sadly just didn't have the second trick, tried the front triple 18, and he's another one, like we're talking about Hanakara, is full true overhead. And a third one, the pop was gigantic, like straight up, very much like springs in the bottom of your board, just boosts up. But I probably went a fraction too big for his own knees. So couldn't quite stick it, but I think very promising to make it first World Cup final, best World Cup finish.
Yeah, nice one from him.
Yeah, very exciting. He's one to watch for sure as well. We'll say that about a bunch of people because I think there's a lot of ones to watch. But on third place, and I think this was the good win for snowboarding on the day, Rene Kangas.
Yeah.
Only the second time he's ever been on the World Cup podium, but was trying the trick. We talked about it a bit in the Secret Garden episode, was doing the nose butter back rodeo. He was doing 12s sometimes and then was doing 14s other times in training. Always was struggling with the pop from it, which understandable. Backside nose butter, you can kind of understand why that doesn't get him deep into the landing. But then run one, third rider out of the gate, pops it straight to the 14, gigantic pop, clean as you like landing, and we're just like, holy fuck, this is going to be a show.
Yeah, that was incredible. And like I say, we watched him battle with it for the whole of Secret Garden, and then through training at Beijing, he did it, and it was, so that's basically 2 weeks of, he committed to the butter every single time, but he couldn't get the snap. It was a 10, it was a 12, it was a 12, and he didn't get the 14s very often to go. So to get the nollie, the backside butter, the snap, and a 14 with a proper tail the whole way through, it's just, it got the score, and I think he well and truly deserved it.
It was sick. High scoring trick of the night. Beat the 19s. NBD as well in contest, which is sick because last year in Beijing we had the Ian Mattioli's frontside 21, which was the MBD in a World Cup. And this year we get another MBD in Beijing, but a different avenue of progression in terms of the rodeo axis and that low rotational trick rather than the high rotational.
Yeah.
So that was sick.
To have a 14 topping out the points in 2025, it's cool. And like you say, I think it was a win for snowboarding, that one. Rene's one of a lot of riders' favourite riders, and he's always having fun out there. So to see him actually put one down in comp's good, because he does have a hard time once the bib goes on, I think. Like you see, it's all sorts of cool shit from him throughout the week, and then the bib comes on and it doesn't always go to plan.
Yeah, like he's a very exciting video part rider. Contests, sometimes just don't go to plan, but they did this time, which was sick. My main worry was that he stopped this on run 1 and then wasn't going to be able to follow it up with 2 more tricks. Just like, it's not going to stand out to the community as much as it did, because well done to the judges for awarding that one. Pat on the back to all those involved. Second trick, went for the switchback, double roadie 12 stalefish, which we talked about in qualies. Had the same kind of instability, to be honest. Kind of came up a little bit short on the landing. We recognized our mistake from the day before. We actually pulled it down quite a little bit. So was a little bit out of contention at that point, just because we had to be harsh in the execution, because we looked at the likes of Dane and Nuto, etc., stomping down tricks, but cleaned it up on run 3, which was awesome, because then we could actually give it the reward that trick deserved. Kind of classed. It sat where we've considered that trick the past few years. The grab's well held in all the way through, and I think it's because it's stale, it's harder to get that last bit of rotation round, which is why we see him under-rotating with that trick.
Yeah, similar to what we spoke about with Lily too. There's backside with the stales, depending on where you grab that, it puts you into that cool axis, and especially with that one for him, it's slightly different from the way others are doing it too, so it's cool.
Yeah, and for anyone listening to the pod, Beggsy was just trying to demonstrate that with body movements. So it's one to watch for. So difficult to get it. Grab duration was sick. And then he got himself up on the podium, which it was very close to being up into first place. It was something we were very cautious with the scores to make sure we didn't get too overexcited. We kept it where it should be. That was that was where I started to kind of panic that we'd get too excited about the good tricks and start just throwing out 90s all over the place.
And that was his second World Cup podium. So good
which is sick. So it probably does nicely for Olympic qualification points as well.
Yeah, hopefully.
In theory. So into second place, who was it?
We had Kira Kimura from Japan. So back 19 melon was his first jump.
And like that one was a little flatter on the, good and deep into the landing. Not the same kind of pop we saw from the likes of Chema with his frontside 18. But yes, a flatter trajectory. Had that kind of melon pull as well. It's that melon that isn't the true original melon. It helps the rotation a little bit. Not super bad. We've seen way worse ones in our time, but this is the kind of detail we're having to analyze. And I guess we recognize that everyone's doing something a little bit with those higher rotations to be able to get the amount of rotation round, because it's 6.5 rotations is pretty.
Yeah, like you said it earlier, we're splitting hairs. There's so much. We try and differentiate the big stuff, but when we're talking sort of where arms and how close things are, like it's really minute things we're trying to separate these tricks with. They are so close and so big and technical now.
Yeah. And followed it up, switchback. I called it a quad 18. It wasn't a true quad sort of thing. It was a quad wobble enough.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd call it on the wobble for that one. I think a quad would have had him scoring pretty good.
Yeah.
True quad.
Yeah, it was one that got called quad for the TV graphics, but wasn't recognized as kind of true quad. But scored well, executed really nicely. Switchback 18. Not a lot of times we see that rotation. We saw it from Ian Mattioli in Secret Garden, but everyone tends to go front or back or take it up to switchback 19.
Yeah, and Keros, and he's got all 4 18s and a couple of 19s, so he's got them all in there. It's nice to be able to
just choose which one you want on there, isn't it? Yeah. But then, went to switchback 19, mute on the third trick. Super clean, super well held, good grab, nice and clean on the landing. Actually bumped him up into first place with one rider left to drop, which just added to the whole TV show.
And it turned it into a full competition. It was, Rene was there, then Kira was there, and Sue was there for a little bit, and then Kira went there, and then coming into the last run, it was a clutch performance. It left it to Sue on his last jump. No front threes this week. He had to put it down.
Last jump. And I guess at least he was guaranteed second, which is always because we reversed the start order for run 3. So, but all the pressure just being literally strapped in first place. Kira dropped the run before, gets himself up into first. Sue's kind of having to have that mental game of no victory lap. Home crowd that are desperate to see Sue back on the podium with back-to-back wins. And fair play to that mental strength, because just laced it.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted second. He was going for it and put down a really nice switchback 19 melon.
Yeah. Clean that they did it on run 2, and there was a little edge on the landing on that one. But run 3 was just perfect. It was, sick. Can't really say too much wrong about it. It was switchback 19, good amplitude, Sue amplitude, should we say.
Yeah.
Right to the bottom, stuck it, no problems.
When he gets them done, he lands real deep and just straight lines out of there. Like his landings, when he lands good, they're technically perfect. It's good to see.
Yeah, and that was one we had to have a bit of a, if you watch the TV show, you'll understand we probably took 5 or 6 minutes of that one. It was a long way. I was getting radio chats from Robbie on the radio just to ask why it was taking so long, and it was just that tight at the top, split panel between whether Kira switchback 19 or Sue switchback 19 scored higher. It was pretty close. I think Sue just edged it out by a point, and I was just conscious of how that overall kind of worked out as well. So did look like he was a little bit clear. I think he had a couple points at the top at the end, but on the day it felt super tight. So that was pretty. I had back 19 noses first trick as well, just for the record. Good grab, good amp to the last line. Very, I think Sue Ming just loves that venue. Won Olympic gold there 3 years and 10 months ago. And put it down really nice, which is great. Like last year, he crashed out on 2 tricks in finals. And actually, the winner last year went to his teammate, Wen Long Yang. So I think Sue was kind of back for redemption at the Stiletto Big Air venue.
Yeah.
So that was sick. 4th Big Air World Cup win and back-to-back in China.
Yeah, insane men's final. That was nuts. And Sue's really come out swinging this year, back-to-back. Wins, and has him in yellow leading into here, which he hasn't shown up for this one, but he's definitely leading the Big Air season with 2 wins from 2 events.
Yeah, and just looking really, really solid and consistent. So hopefully that kind of continues through the season for him. And then as soon as that score went in, my heart rate just kind of, I was like full adrenaline rush, had to kind of like squat down and kind of get my breath back because like an hour and a half of pure just on the line, like awesome experience, but just nerve-wracking from start to finish.
Yeah.
And thank you for giving me that one to hedge, Rich. Nice, quiet, relaxing week at home whilst my heart's just worn out a few extra beats.
Yeah, that's how it is, I think, for a lot of them. And when they start landing, and I find that with all the comps, it's just there's an overwhelming amount of pressure when your head judge. There's a lot managing 6, 7 people and everything going on in that moment is tough.
And 6 passionate snowboard judges as well. So like the crew did awesome. They were actually one of my notable standouts, not from the riders, but the judges were super on point, kind of, especially in finals, held it together really nicely. Didn't get, they got excited, and as head judge, I had to be the fun sponge and pull it down a little bit. They got excited, but they kept the cool and got everything pretty on point all the way through, which is sick. So big props to the crew if they are listening. I was mega proud of you guys. You made me look good. I do feel like we rode the lightning a little bit in terms of the scores. It worked for a great TV show, and this is something we're always kind of talking about when we talk about the range. Is like, cool, do we leave space for those 23s that we know more than the couple that we've seen have got them in the bag? And if we had, then we'd have dropped their scores down to low 80s, high 70s, and then it wouldn't have looked as epic a TV show. Bit of a gamble because whether we'd left enough mathematical reward at the top for those tricks. But I'm glad we went how we did because, No,
it's good for everything. And then the riders even taking it down to that last jump. That's a TV show in itself. So it was a good one.
So let's do same again this week.
Nice. So that leaves us with one more to go in the season, which we're currently just done and dusted with day 1 of training.
And the jump's a bit different to how it's been the past 2 weeks. Well.
Different jumps, slightly smaller. It's a bit of more of an old school step down style, quite poppy compared to what the riders have had the last few weeks with flatter takeoffs. We definitely noticed today those that were trying to butter weren't getting quite as much purchase on it because there's that late pop. So as they're trying to pressure on a flat jump, they'd actually have the lift. On this one, it's there's a bit of a late compression, but there's still some really good stuff going down. I don't know if we'll get the 23s. I think we're definitely looking at a bunch of 18s though. And
I think so,
tricks.
And they were getting 18s down today already.
Yeah.
Well, Hiroto was, but that's Hiroto. Doesn't seem to have an issue.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty light on snow here, so I think as agreement gets in and they ride it for a few more days, it'll ride in. So I think we'll be on for another one here, that's for sure.
I reckon so, yeah. Because, it only got built a few days ago or finished a few days ago. They are struggling for snow. We were here 4 years ago and the snow conditions are way better than they were then. So that was very much sitting on the balcony in shorts weather, whereas now it feels like winter again.
Yeah, totally. So that one too has got a lot of landing. It's like good 4 or 5 lines and 30 metres past the knuckle. It's the sweet spot's at about the 3rd, but I think even if we see 18s in qualies, I think once the finals come, we're going to see some bigger stuff. People are going to start milking that landing more and more, and there is room down there. So who knows what will come of that.
And obviously, we change our scale based around the jump and the ride and all the conditions. So we'll get all that sorted this week. And interestingly enough, this jump was the first jump we ever saw back-to-back, two 18s at the Big Air contest. And that was 4 years ago in 2021, December, just before the Olympics. And it was Su Yiming who did both.
Wow.
Surprise, surprise. There you go. There's a fun fact for the pub quiz, which we might get through this Christmas.
And 4 years later, back-to-back 19s. So.
Yeah, it's weird that 4 years ago, back-to-back 18s was like, oh my God. And then now it's like, that doesn't even get you in finals. So crazy. Cool. So yes, this is the last Big Air of the season, which is, I think, really sick for us because we've had back-to-back Big Airs, keeps the momentum nice and tight. The free skiers have got one in Teen at the end of March, where you've completely forgotten everything that had happened at the start of the season. And it means after our snowboard finals on Saturday afternoon, we'll be giving out the Crystal Globe.
Yeah, but we've got Sue leading the charge in the men with back-to-back wins. So he's in yellow for the men, and it's Miyabi Onitsuka for the women, sitting in yellow right now.
Which is sick. And she wasn't one we mentioned a huge amount in our recap episodes from last season, but this season does seem to be on point and back to the Miyabi we're used to from years gone by. Like finals in both the first two events, showcasing, as we said, that Cap 12 in finals. Like she's still got the tricks and rightfully sat in that top spot.
And she was there training today, so we'll expect to see some more this week.
Exactly. So it'll give me a very, very exciting week ahead of us. So we'll obviously recap the Steamboat Big Air when we get to the end of the Steamboat Big Air. And then other side of the world, we got Secret Garden Halfpipe happening. First Halfpipe World Cup of the season. Second event, because most of the crew were in Snow League for that event, sticking around for the World Cup. And then those Halfpipe riders will be across in Colorado next week for Copper, and then Calgary, Aspen, Larks. We still got 5 World Cup Halfpipes before we even get to the Olympics. So it's intense.
Yeah, and so I think we'll bang out a Steamboat Big Air episode next week from Copper. Once we get to Copper, then we'll look at starting to catch up on some pipe. But there might be a little bit of a delay because obviously we can't do 2 things at once.
What?
As much as we'd like to. Can multitask. I can't head judge Steamboat and Secret Garden there, can I?
No. I'll give you that one. That's a bit intense with the travel schedule. Yeah. So we're gonna wrap up the Big Airs, and then we'll get into the half-pipes as well. So which is kind of
keep it like the tour, keep the seasons consecutive.
Yeah, and then we'll try and get something done over Christmas. Obviously, I gotta get 5 days off, so it'll be tough. But cool. I think that's basically a wrap up from Beijing. I've finally calmed down. I was kind of, as you might have guessed, intense is the word I used to describe the entire day. But very stoked for snowboarding. I think it was an awesome Big Air final, and I think everyone did sick.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Riders,
I love a good night final, and that was special.
Night final under the lights.
Yeah.
Best way to do it. So obviously, the end of the last episode after the Secret Garden Big Air review, Beggsy quite nicely demonstrated his Chinese language skills and said goodbye in Chinese. We're now in America, so
I'll leave this one to you. I think you should
catch y'all later.
Peace.
Don't know if that was any better than Chinese, to be honest.